everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Welcome to a wet Tuesday morning. I've been able to say that for a while. Some of the stories we're watching in the KFI 24-hour newsroom. Johnson & Johnson has asked the FDA to authorize a booster shot for its COVID-19 vaccine. Data from J&J shows a booster shot given 6 months after the primary shot increases the antibodies ninefold. The FDA scientific advisors will hold a public hearing next Friday. And the CEO of Amplify Energy says he was not informed of the leak on their pipeline off the coast of Huntington Beach until Saturday morning. Now, some local lawmakers claim they were told about the leak Friday. Amplify Energy officials say as much as 127,000 gallons of crude may have spilled from their pipeline, the equivalent of 3,011 barrels. The company adds it is ready to compensate people and businesses for their losses. 5:35, we'll talk with ABC's Devin Dwyer. The Supreme Court justices were seated for the first time in 18 months yesterday to deal with cases involving gun control, abortion rights, religious freedom. So what have they taken up so far? And Devin was in the courtroom. There. I want to see if he observes anything different in this term. But right now, let's say good morning to Mandy Evans. She's executive director of the Better Together Animal Alliance, and you've probably heard stories of people returning animals to shelters after adopting them many times after the start of the pandemic. Well, LA County has a new program to hopefully combat that. Mandy, good morning. Please tell us more about Home to Home.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Home to Home was created to prevent the need for pets to enter into animal shelters. So LA County has adopted the program, which means that if people need to surrender their pets, they're provided with a different option where they can post their pet online and LA County promotes their animal for adoption, but it never leaves their home. So that the owner gets to talk to all the potential adopters that are interested, and the pet goes from one home to another.
Okay, let's start with that first part, because anybody who's had to surrender an animal for any reason, especially let's say if it's financial or something like that, where you just can't keep the animal and your heart is broken, knowing that they're going to a good home, a home that you have been able to choose, that's got to take just a world of stress off the plate of the owner.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that you bring it back to the owner because this program really helps. We started it because we saw the devastation that was happening with people who needed to surrender their pets. So we wanted to support them in a new and better way. And also, shelters are super stressful on animals, and if we can prevent the need from them going into the shelter at all, it's really a win-win-win.
And let's go to that portion too, because when an animal goes into a shelter, oftentimes it takes some time for the shelter to sort of diagnose, I guess, the animal in the sense of how is it with kids, how is it with cats, how, whatever the case may be. But if you're talking directly to the owner and you are a potential adopter, you can ask all those questions.
Absolutely. So Best Friends just came out with their new data, and it showed that the top considerations for people looking for a new pet, the top three is the health of the pet, compatibility with kids, and compatibility with other animals. And even though people believe that animal shelters can provide that information, they really can't. They're going to look at the health of the pet based on whether or not that pet comes in with any symptoms. And then it's super hard to test an animal on whether or not they're good with kids or other animals. And the temperament of the animal in the shelter is completely different than it is in a home. So by utilizing the current owners to make those decisions, the new owners are getting the absolute best information about that pet.
Okay, and when it comes to the shelters in LA County specifically, have they seen a large return rate of animals who maybe were previously adopted being brought back? Because after the pandemic, a lot of people are going back to work and they just can't find a way to take care of those animals.
Well, unfortunately, when it all happened, shelters throughout the United States were prepared for this influx of animals, and we actually didn't see it, but it's happening right now. We're seeing more and more surrenders into shelters, and partially it's due to the lack of financial ability for people to keep the pets and the housing instability. So I think it's all come to a head, and it's great that LA County has a program like this that can help reduce those numbers.
Okay, so how does Home to Home actually promote an animal? So if you're somebody listening right now and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm one of those people who unfortunately is going to have to surrender my furry buddy here, how does this work?
So if you're in LA County, you would go to animalcare.lacounty.gov, and they will direct you to their surrender page. And you would simply hit a link that you want to rehome your pet. You create a pet profile. It's sent over to the shelter. The shelter approves your post. And the reason we do this is because somebody that's at the shelter that's reviewing your post, they might be able to provide that owner with services that would lead them to be able to keep their pet that maybe the owner didn't know about. If they didn't have food to feed their pet, then maybe there's food available through one of the shelters. So it's a great way to be able to have the shelter connect to that community. Then the shelter hits, okay, this is good. It goes out onto the web, and then the shelter is then promoting that animal for adoption, with the idea that the more animals that can be adopted outside of the four walls of the shelter means that there's more space for animals who truly need intervention in the shelter.
Okay, so when somebody logs on to the shelter website, so they would go to LA County Animal Services, I guess?
Yeah, because LA County has their own home-to-home URL, but because LA County is ginormous, they have more than one. So that's why it's easiest to just go to their website, animalcare.lacounty.gov, and follow the instructions there so they can find the closest home-to-home program to them.
Okay, and then when somebody logs on to a home-to-home program and they're saying, hey, I'm a potential adopter, they know then that they're going to be able to converse with the current owner?
Yep. So when you go on, you can search through the available animals. You click on the animal you're interested in. You hit contact owner, and an email is sent to the owner. And then it's up to that owner whether they reach out to you to think if you're a good fit or not. And you start to have conversations and then go from there.
Oh, that is wonderful. And then if somebody is an adopter on Home to Home, and maybe I actually spoke with Best Friends yesterday with Michelle Sathi, and we were going over some of the questions that people have when it's, I have a small house, can I get a big dog? Things like that kind of thing. Can they also then contact LA County Animal Services if they just have general adoption questions?
Yeah, so LA County now, and I'm obviously not with LA County, I'm with Home to Home, but LA County is really trying to focus on better supporting the community outside of the shelter. So absolutely going onto their website, seeing what services they have or what they can provide you is a new model that they're adopting.
What a wonderful win. Thank you so much for telling us about it. And, I just love this idea that this is not Craigslist, or this is not, and I'm not bashing Craigslist, but this just feels like a much more secure way if I want to adopt an animal than just going on willy-nilly to some, ad site like that and looking around for dogs. This kind of makes sure that this posting has been vetted. This dog, we've heard horrible stories about puppies that people go on and say, oh, I want to adopt this dog, and then there's some money exchange and the dog never even existed. This just seems so much more secure.
Yeah, and we don't allow any adoption fees to take place on the platform. So you have to rehome your pet for free. And the whole point of that is that we don't want the site being used by people that don't have the best intentions. But if people want to learn more about Home to Home and the impact, especially that we're making in California, you can go to home-home.org and follow us.
home-home.org. Thank you so much, Mandy.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful day. See you later.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. That is Mandy Evans she's Executive Director of the Better Together Animal Alliance that runs Home to Home. And again, that's home-home.org. I'm in. I love it. All right, we come back, we'll talk with ABC's Devin Dwyer about the Supreme Court justices being seated for the first time yesterday in over a year. He's got crazy controversial cases this year. Abortion rights, gun control, religious freedom. So what went down yesterday? What cases have they taken on so far? We'll find out in just a second. Nick is tackling the 57.
Yeah, I got problems for you this go round as you're making your way through the Pomona area. Heading southbound along the 57 before Temple as you're making your way through Pomona. It's a car fire off on the right shoulder. Looks like there's still some flames involved, and that is why you're seeing an especially heavy drive. First thing as you're heading southbound on the 57, off the 10 heading toward Temple on the westbound side of the 10 approaching the 57. Also looks to be pretty busy for your drive. Got an update on this or anything else slowing you down? Pound 250 on the cell phone. Keyword is KFI traffic, westbound 10. San Bernardino Freeway going to be patchy for your drive overall out of Fontana. From before Cherry, you'll see those delays continuing to the upland of Montclair area due to Caltrans work, wrapping up right around Monte Vista. Westbound 60 also still going for your drive off the 15 toward Archibald. Looks like that's an earlier wreck. 3 or 4 cars involved had a couple of lanes taken away, hopefully off the right shoulder here sooner than later. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Nick Collingwood, Teeny.
Hey, Conway here. Know why I got a whole house water filtration system from Purigan Water? Because I don't want to wonder if my family's tap water is safe. No more wasting money on bottled water, no plastic bottles to recycle, and no more visits to the chiropractor's office because you're lifting 5-gallon bottles of water or 40 pounds of salt. No calcium buildup on faucets or shower heads, and that alone is worth it. Purigan extends the life of your water heater. Stay on with this clean water. Purigan Water offers free lifetime service. No one else can make that claim. The system takes up a little tiny amount of space. So let's get Purigan, California's preferred whole house water filtration system. And for a limited time, when you buy a whole house system, you get the 6-stage alkaline drink system for free. 844-80-WATER. 844-80-WATER. That's P-U-R, again, water.com. Spelled wrong, but the water's right. 844-80-WATER. The Purigan man is your best friend.
SoCal weather from KFI, partly cloudy with highs upper 60s to the upper 70s at the beaches, low to mid 80s for Metro LA and OC, upper 80s to low 90s for the valleys and the IE. And we do have a lingering shower or two out there, but those will burn off really quickly this morning. We lead local, live from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. I'm Jennifer Jones-Lee.
This is my business. I started it, and my hard work made it successful. We survived the last year, and things are starting to look better, but now hard work alone isn't enough. I need cash to hire some people and buy supplies.
Loan Me Business is for people like you. We can loan your business from $6,000 up to $250,000. And we understand that you don't need the cash soon. You need it now. And if your credit isn't perfect, that's okay. Apply today and you can have the money in your account tomorrow. Loan Me Business loans have longer terms, keeping your monthly payments low and manageable. You can even pay the loan off early to control your costs with no prepayment penalties.
That sounds great.
Simply go to loanmebiz.com to get started. That's loanmebiz.com or call 844-3-LOAN-ME.
Not all applicants will qualify. Approval in turn subject to credit standards. See loanme.com for details. Loans made pursuant to California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation Law License 603K061.
That's 844-3-LOAN-ME or loanmebiz.com.
Is finding the right candidate slowing you down? Cut straight to You're Hired with Indeed. Their hiring platform makes it easy to attract, screen, and interview candidates all in the same place. To find your next great hire, visit Indeed.com/credit.
Here's what you need to know about the Pfizer COVID-19 booster. Not everyone needs one. Those who should receive a booster are 65 and older, long-term care residents, and those 50 to 64 with underlying medical conditions. Consider a booster if you're 18 to 49 with underlying medical conditions, or 18 to 64 with a high risk of COVID exposure at work. Only get a booster if it's been at least 6 months since you received your second dose of Pfizer. Find a booster near you at myturn.ca.gov. Brought to you by the California Department of Public Health.
Drew, you know what's really spooky during Halloween? What, Dad? Your old mattress. Because after 8 years, an old mattress loses support and comfort and can collect sweat, dead skin, and dust mites. So if your mattress is over 8, it's time to replace during Sit and Sleep Fall Sale. Save $1,000 on select mattresses from Beautyrest, Kingstown, and Sealy, and get a $300 gift with any Tempur-Pedic purchase. So this Halloween season, trust your sleep to Sit and Sleep. For dreams that are sweeter than a pumpkin spice latte. That sounds good, Drew.
Accident, moving to be called good and morning, called it good.
Live and local.
Our radio station.
KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeart iHeartRadio app. I love Alex and Tyler and Misty, who's in training with Alex this morning. What a freaking wake-up call crew this is. I don't give them enough love, and they all deserve it. You guys are the best, all around. I'm Jennifer Jones-Lee, and some of the stories we're watching in the KFI 24-hour newsroom. Wildlife crews are working hard to save animals affected by the oil spill. 4 birds have been recovered, and 1 bird has died. Officials with Oiled Wildlife Care Center say the number of birds in the area affected by the spill is lower than they expected. One expert said they were cautiously optimistic. And a single ticket sold in Central California is the big winner of the nearly $700 million Powerball Jackpot. The winning ticket in last night's draw was sold at a grocery store in Morro Bay, and the winning numbers were 12, 22, 54, 66, 69, and the Powerball was 15. News is brought to you by Rooter's Hero. Right now, let's say good morning to ABC's Devin Dwyer. Devin, were you in Morro Bay, California anytime soon, or anytime recently?
I was not the Powerball winner, Jennifer. Hate to report that. So sorry.
Oh, no, but you did win the lottery to get into the Supreme Court yesterday. Congrats on that.
I did. It was a lucky day. Pretty surreal experience. The Supreme Court has been out of session for 18 months. Well, I should say out of in-person session. And, that beautiful courtroom up on Capitol Hill. The iconic marble building. They were back in business inside, but a totally transformed scene. I mean, there were only a few dozen reporters in there. It was being live streamed to the public. That's new. Audio only, but a big step for a court that doesn't let the public inside in real time. And we saw the justices, Jennifer, really for the first time since the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. They processed in, took new seats on the mahogany bench. We saw Amy Coney Barrett for the first time. And Justice Stephen Breyer, they sort of do musical chairs when there's a death of a justice, and Breyer is now front and center right next to the Chief Justice in the middle, and he seemed to be having a grand old time. So for all the talk about him possibly retiring, he was there, very engaged, and we're off to the races.
One person not pictured yesterday, of course, was Justice Kavanaugh.
That's right. Thanks for reminding me. There was an empty seat on the end of the bench. Of course, he got diagnosed with COVID-19 last week. No symptoms still, but that was another unusual thing for the Supreme Court, which is usually frozen in time. We had a justice dialing in to the hearing in that chamber. Don't think that's ever happened before, but he was engaged. You couldn't hear through his voice, at least, any sign of the illness, but that's right, there was one empty seat. There was only 8 justices yesterday.
Okay, so you were talking about Justice Breyer seeming to be having a grand old time, and Justice Thomas, who really we haven't heard a lot from. He doesn't pose a lot of questions. Yesterday asked both the first question in both cases that were argued. Does this sort of signal that Thomas is kind of emerging as the court's conservative leader? It was just such a change for him.
Yeah, it was a change, Jennifer, that started when the pandemic pushed them to go virtual last year. I mean, he started to talk and ask lots of questions. And yesterday we saw it in person. There he was, hot out of the gate with questions. It's sort of a head scratcher, but Clarence Thomas, someone who had sort of reviled the press and shied from the spotlight in protest for the way that he was treated during his confirmation process, has really begun to seize the moment, really, now that the conservatives have a majority on the court. And yesterday, also, to Chief Justice John Roberts, he sat to his right. Clarence Thomas engaged, asking the questions and participating throughout. In fact, one of my colleagues pointed out, it was Justice Samuel Alito who perhaps is now channeling the old Clarence Thomas. He didn't ask a single question for the whole first case, was sitting there sipping out of his stainless steel coffee mug with a smug look on his face. But yeah, Thomas is back, and it may be a moment for him.
Okay, and I know that Thomas recently spoke to a university, and I don't remember which one it was, but it was interesting. He immediately started this whole thing, this speech that he gave to them with something like, I know that people feel that the court is politically driven or politically motivated, and he really launched into kind of the start of the speech how they weren't, and that they were, it was the law that they were going by. And then I saw a poll yesterday that talked about the public confidence in the court being at an all-time low. Is there really any way for the justices to combat that? And honestly, though, do they really care what the verdict is from the court of public opinion?
Yeah, it's a great question. Clarence Thomas was at Notre Dame giving a speech on this, but we've seen almost all the justices out, sort of rare, rapid succession the past couple weeks. Barrett, Alito, Stephen Breyer, of course, on his book tour, Thomas, they're all making the same point. We're not political. We're not judges in robes. All of that signals, Jennifer, the fact that the court's credibility depends on public confidence in it. And if the public doesn't believe the court and believe that they're doing their best, they may not believe their decisions and may not obey their decisions. And I think that's what's really starting to concern a lot of them. Now, we can debate whether or not they're political and how they do. I mean, everybody's going to have a view on that, but they are aware that their credibility is on the line. And talk about polling. Gallup has been polling the public on the Supreme Court for years and found just last week that the Supreme Court's on its lowest public approval in decades. 40% of people think the Supreme Court's doing a good job. I don't think the justices make decisions. I've met with all of them individually, and you really don't get the sense that they make decisions based on which way the wind is blowing. I mean, they're more serious than that. But they do take it into account, and I do wonder at this juncture whether it's going to have some bearing on how they proceed with some of these really divisive cases ahead.
Okay, so what were some of the ones that they did tackle right out of the gate yesterday?
Yesterday's case, the first one was a dispute between Mississippi and Tennessee over groundwater, billions of gallons of it stretching between the two states. Tennessee pumping groundwater into their state for people to drink. Mississippi suing them for $600 million, saying, well, wait a second, that's coming from our soil. So a very interesting kind of technical dispute over water. But the bigger cases are still to come. I mean, we've got abortion coming down the line. Should Roe versus Wade be overturned? We have a gun case out of New York. The Supreme Court has said all of us have a fundamental right to have a handgun in our homes, but this case is going to test whether there's a fundamental right to carry a handgun on the streets for self-defense. Could be a huge deal. There's the death sentence case of the Boston Marathon bomber. It was thrown out by a lower court. Should it be reinstated? And then a whole host of issues which haven't even come up yet to the court, but will likely get there in the next few weeks. The Biden vaccine mandate, deferred action, the DACA program for undocumented immigrants. All of those issues, affirmative action at Harvard University are bound for the court this term. So, sometimes we say it every year, this is a big year. This is a really big year for the Supreme Court.
Really quick question, I know you've got to go. How did they choose what case comes first? Because I had a friend ask me yesterday, wait, why are they waiting so long to do the vaccine mandate? That seems like the first one that they would need to do just to get it out of the way, considering it's happening right now.
Yeah, well, the vaccine mandate hasn't actually been challenged up to them yet. I think there's a federal lawsuit in the lower court. The way our court systems work, things got to kind of work their way through the system. So some of these issues haven't actually made it up to them yet. The cases that they have heard and have agreed to take, those are just put on the calendar by the Chief Justice, and they meet in private. I mean, they don't disclose how they time them out. So why start with the water dispute and why not start with abortion? Well, that's really up to them. There's some discretion there. But perhaps they are spacing out these big issues because there are a few weeks in between each of them. But a big year for sure.
All right. Thank you so much, Devin. I appreciate it.
Hey, great to talk to you, Jennifer.
Hey, you too. See you later. ABC's Devin Dwyer. They're probably smart. They're like, day one. We might have new chairs today if we, did the musical chairs thing. Okay. And, everybody's kind of getting back into the swing of things. We haven't been here for 18 months. Should we start with abortion? Or should we start with water rights between Tennessee and Mississippi? Yeah, let's go with water rights. Probably not a bad idea. All right, let's get back to some of these stories coming out of the KFI 24-hour newsroom. An actor in L.A. has pleaded guilty to running a $650 million Ponzi scheme. The guy worked in small films under the name Zach Avery. Well, federal prosecutors say he cheated investors. We talked about this guy during Handle on the News. These investors thought that their money would pay for distribution rights for movies that would run on HBO, Netflix, and other platforms. A DEA agent has been shot and killed at a train station in Arizona. Authorities in Tucson say DEA agents were questioning two men while they were doing a routine check of the Amtrak station. The agents detained one of the men when the others started shooting. A second DEA agent and a police officer were also shot. The shooter barricaded himself in a bathroom. He was later found dead. Well, 3 scientists from different countries have won the Nobel Prize for Physics. 2 from Japan and Germany have won for their work in understanding climate change and global warming. The other scientist from Italy was awarded for his efforts on fluctuations in physical systems from atomic to planetary scales. You know, those are some freaking smart people. I would need a dictionary just to go, okay, fluctuations. Okay, what's the definition of that word? Okay. In physical systems, okay, what is the definition of that phrase? From atomic to planetary scales. Oh, planets! I got it. Okay, I got one. Social media influencer Bretman Rock has become the first gay man to be featured on the cover of Playboy. Rock's wearing the iconic Playboy bunny outfit, bunny ears, and a bodysuit with a fluffy tail for this month's digital cover of the magazine. He says having the opportunity to be on the cover is surreal and a big deal for the LGBTQ community. There's a Russian actor and film director who have rocketed into space on a mission to make the world's first movie in orbit. They'll be filming segments of the movie titled Challenge, in which a surgeon goes to the space station to save a crew member who has a heart condition. They'll spend 12 days on the space station. The late Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, is getting some RESPECT from the Postal Service in Michigan. A post office in her hometown of Detroit has renamed it in her honor. Former President Trump signed off on the bill earlier this year to change the name to the Aretha Franklin Post Office Building. Franklin died in 2018. All right, we come back. It's your Morning Biz Bites. Instagram's being criticized for an account that they say marketed to young girls who are looking for ways to get thin. Also, I'll tell you why an interview with a company, a spice company CEO, might make you want to stock up on your Old Bay seasoning. And I never thought about this before, but could there actually be a need for eco-based concrete, and specifically concrete that goes into the ocean? We'll talk about that in just a second. Nick's looking at your drive through Riverside.
And the westbound side of the 91 is really slow going for your drive right now from as far back as Tyler, and that's going to be packed in pretty tight all the way through Corona on the westbound 91 before Surface Club. Looks like you've got a couple of cars that got into it. Middle lanes are blocked, so that's likely why it is especially heavy for you right now. Delays will continue for you ahead as you make way past the Green River. Also getting worse for the drive in the Pomona area. On the southbound side of the 57 before Temple, it was a car fire reported on the right shoulder. Now it's the 3 right lanes shut down by emergency crews to deal with that car fire. Must be a big car fire because you're seeing a rough ride on the southbound side of the 57 coming away from Via Verde from before the 10. Also affecting your drive westbound along the 10 and San Bernardino freeway from before White. Approaching the 57, definitely heavy for you there. And getting to the Kellogg interchange, eastbound side of the 10. Approaching the 57, seeing delays as well. KFI in the Sky helps get you there faster. I'm Nick calling you.
If you own a business and manage to keep 5 or more people on payroll, a new government program will pay you up to $33,000 per employee. $33,000. This isn't a loan, it's a grant, it's free money. The challenge? Getting your hands on it. Hi, I'm Howard Mackler. That's exactly why I founded InnovationRefunds.com to cut through the red tape and get you the money. At InnovationRefunds.com, our tax attorneys and CPAs are experts at helping businesses like yours to get their share of these government funds. InnovationRefunds.com does all the legwork and doesn't charge you a penny until you receive the money. Our team has helped over 6,000 businesses to get some $450 million, and InnovationRefunds.com can get your business up to $33,000 per employee. Just go to InnovationRefunds.com, click on Qualify Me, answer a few questions. No risk, high reward. InnovationRefunds.com.
This report is sponsored by Memorial Care Long Beach Medical Center. Memorial Care Long Beach Medical Center is the only hospital in southern LA and Orange counties with Excelsius GPS, an advanced technology that improves accuracy, precision, and outcomes for spine surgery patients. Learn more at memorialcare.org/spine surgery.
Mookie Betts led all MLB jersey sales for the second consecutive year. The Dodgers accounted for 4 of the top 10 most popular jerseys. The Chargers spoiled the Raiders' perfect start at SoFi Stadium. It was a bizarre start. There was a weather delay in a $5 billion indoor stadium. And after the game, both defensive star Joey Bosa slammed the officiating crew, saying, quote, "You're blind. Open your eyes and do your job." I'm Misty Jordan.
All too often, the media are ignoring the everyday heroics of our policemen and women. Well, that changes on News Nation. Dan Abrams and his live PD sidekick Six are back in prime time on Dan Abrams Live, weeknights at 5 p.m. Pacific on News Nation. Many Wall Streeters are predicting the inflation plane is ready to take off. At Owning, we still have a few refi seats left, with 30-year fixed 2.75% rate in APR, with no closing costs on them. If the experts are right and the inflation plane flies high, APRs this low may be a distant dream. Don't mess around. Call 8332-OWNING or go to owning.com before the refi market flies completely away from you. Maybe the experts are wrong and rates don't go up any higher. But if they're right and the plane is flying with mortgage rates reaching the fours, you'll kick yourself hard that you didn't grab a seat now. Don't be a dummy. Save the money.
NMLS 2611, licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation and the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Subject to credit approval. Call 833-852-6464 for terms and conditions. Equal housing lender.
Call 8332-OWNING for a 30-year fixed refi with a 2.75% rate in APR today. That's 8332-OWNING or owning.com.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company presents.
Doug, don't you just love the smell of old books? This is the library. Sorry, ma'am. We're looking for a book titled Liberty Mutual Customizes Your Car Insurance so you only pay for what you need. I don't think we carry that, but just it's the really best of our literature. Please read. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Attorney Joe Cordell.
New school, new